What's up, folks? Welcome back to the channel. Boozer here. Thanks for stopping by. Today's video, we are on the test server here, and we will be showcasing the brand new Halloween fusion, Sanguine Maria. So she is from the Undead Horrors. She looks amazing, and let's see if her kit and gameplay is actually amazing as well. Here we go. We got the base stats here finally revealed. 1520 base attack. Now, this was a stat that people thought might be reduced to kind of temper her kit a little bit, but 1520 is a very reasonable amount. I believe it's the exact same attack as Rhodos. Maria here looks absolutely amazing. She got the 3 mirrors, similar to Dark Fade. Now, they don't really add too much in terms of any kind of visual indicator. That would have been cool if it kind of lit up because her kit is all based around 3, the number 3. And it would have been nice to have some kind of indicator, maybe a visual indicator like the mirrors going off would have been pretty cool. 1,000 base defense here, 15,000 base HP. A little bit on the low side, but she is a damage dealer here. She's an attack-based force affinity damage dealer. Bit slow, got the boosted crit damage for a damage dealer. Comes with attack in all battles aura. That's very, very nice. Let's go over her kit here real quick if you guys are not very familiar. There's a couple nuances here that we can go over here as well. So her A1 is a triple hit. Each hit gives you a 33% chance of getting an extra turn. You can't get more than 1 extra turn per hit. So for example, if you attack 3 times and if you were lucky enough to get, basically 33% hit 3 times in a row, you could only get 1 extra turn. So 33% chance 3 times, that gives you a cumulative probability of about 70%. So her probability of landing an extra turn is about 70% after this ability concludes. Once it concludes, you do get an extra turn. So theoretically, you could chain that 33% 3 times, so 70%, as many times as you can, as long as you hit that 70%. But it seems unlikely. And the Maria that was on the test server when it first opened, it was bugged out a little bit and it wasn't working as expected. That's why this showcase is a little bit delayed. And a lot of it had to do with the A1. So now we know exactly what's going on with it. But yeah, so that's the deal with that. You get 2 books here for 30% damage. That's a good amount of damage here for the books. Good value. And then let's go to the A2, Sanguine Fisher. 4 turn cooldown, books down to 3 turns. Again, 2 books for 30% boosting damage. Single target hit, ignores 33% of the target's defense. Will ignore 99% of the target's defense, stone skin, and a block damage buff instead if this skill is used on the turn number that is divisible by 3. So 3, 6, 9, 12, whatever. And it has to be her turns. It has to be her turns. It's not global turns, okay? It has to be her turn. If the target is killed, increase the cooldown of all enemy skills by 3 turns. This effect cannot be resisted if the skill is used on a turn number that is divisible by 3. So basically, her A2, it benefits a lot from divisible by 3 turn number. As a worst case scenario, if she single target hits for 33% ignore defense, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. And if she kills somebody, she can still increase the cooldown of enemy skills by 3 turns, but it does have an accuracy check. So yeah, if you have 0 accuracy on her, then the likelihood of her reducing cooldowns is basically, very low. So you're fully relying on this, 3 turn number divisible condition to go off for this benefit. Just keep that in mind. So maybe it makes sense to add a little bit of accuracy just for consistency's sake. But yeah, 99% ignore defense is massive if you can get that off. The A3 here, Gore Scream level 1. 4 turn cooldown when fully booked. It's going to be 3 turns. Again, 2 books for 30% damage. Good value from the books. Attack 1 enemy, so another single target hit. Before attacking, strip all enemies. That's great. This effect cannot be resisted by enemies with a number of buffs that is divisible by 3. So this is dependent on the enemy. This is very hard to obviously, control. So not going to put too much stock into that. Will attack all remaining enemies with less than 66% HP. So if she goes first, she's not going to get this off very often. This is mostly like a finisher ability. If everybody's kind of low, and then she will come in and do the finishing hit. Grants an extra turn if this champion is under a number of buffs that is divisible by 3. Now, this is controllable by yourself. So you can put the number of buffs on her so that she goes first, and then she can use this ability first. Now, this is not a great first ability because you're not really getting the benefit by this, other condition, the less than 66% HP condition. But it's a good ability to go first because you strip all their buffs. And that could be, potentially pretty good. All right, let's hop to her passive here. Her passive is actually pretty cool as well. So each subsequent hit from this champion deals 33% more damage, stacks up to 99. Resets after 99, damage bonus is applied, and that applies to damage mitigation as well. The interesting thing about this is that your first hit starts at 0 boost, and then your second hit gets the 33% boost, your third hit gets the 66% boost, and then your fourth hit gets the 99% boost. Same applies for damage mitigation. So basically the fourth hit, you will be reducing damage by 99%. So that's how it works. Whenever an enemy is revives this champion with 33% HP and 66% turn meter. After being revived, places True Fear enemy debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. This debuff cannot be resisted or blocked. So no block debuff stuff. And it cannot be resisted. So this is a pretty nice kind of, resurrection. All right, overall, pretty cool kit from her. Obviously, Plarium is trying something a lot different. I wish they would have added some kind of indicator, a number counter, something to make it a little bit easier. I don't know about you guys, but I have trouble keeping track of like Odin's 9-turn counter myself. So keeping track of her stuff is just going to be absolutely bonkers. So anyways, let's jump into the build I got her in, and we'll take her into some content and see how well she does. All right, guys, so this is the build I have her in. I think she will work best in 2 different types of builds. So one of them will be a 9-piece Merciless set. This gives you the extra chance of getting the extra turn, and she benefits quite a bit from cycling through her abilities and gaining those extra turns right away. Now, the way the extra turn mechanic works with her A1 extra turn mechanic is that they don't really add up the percentages, so it's not 33% plus 15%, for example, from Merciless set. The way it works is you do the check on the 33% first, and then you do the 15% check afterwards. And you shouldn't be able to stack extra turns or anything like that. At least that is what I know or understand about that. So Merciless set makes a lot of sense. You could definitely go for a Stone Skin build as well. Stone Skin Lethal, Stone Skin Savage, that also works as well. Giving her a way to survive with the Stone Skin works really well. Stone Skin also provides her with 1 buff to start off the match, which helps you, set up a condition where, she can take advantage of this. You could also argue that if you want to take advantage of her A2, you don't even need a set that has ignore defense as well if you're going to specifically target this 99% condition on her A2. I think that would be quite difficult. Anyways, the total stats on my Maria here, we got 300 speed, we got 280 crit damage, no accuracy required, but we have a little bit of accuracy, which is, okay. So that means we could lock out maybe like nukers and stuff like that. 5.8k attacks, so a little bit on the low side here. And then in terms of relics, I'm going to leave the relics off for now. I think for her, something like the wand would be fine. You get speed and accuracy there. You could also go for something like the Gore Crescent here, which would be pretty cool. The Gore Crescent gives you some additional damage whenever you kill somebody. So since she has like a bunch of extra turn mechanics, if she kills somebody, she gets a bunch of extra turns. So that could give you a little bit of a damage boost as well. I heard some people talk about using the Raven on her. Now the Raven gives you a chance to get an extra turn, but the way it works is that you need to have a skill on cooldown first. So this relic works if, for example, she's locked out. Then you just use the A1 and then you get a chance to get extra turns and then you can get back to cycling your stuff, right? So this could work. And also you're not so, desperate for ignore defense since she does have an ability with, 33, 66, 99% ignore defense. So you're not beholden to something like the Cat's Gaze, for example. So you do have a little bit of flexibility with her. You could take something like the Last Laugh amulet as well, because if she can survive, she can chain off all those extra turns. Maybe if you give her Life Drinker, for example, or some kind of healing, she could be able to recover some of her healing just by 1 turn. So there's a lot of interesting kind of relics that you could add to her to make her pretty cool. For blessings, I'm going to leave that off as well. For blessings, you could definitely take something like Lightning Cage if you're running Stone Skin, for example. Even something like Phantom Touch could be pretty good since she has multi-hit A1s. That could be really good. I think Reaper would probably be pretty good as well for Arena. And of course, Crushing Ren would be obviously very good as well. All right, and of course, fully booked, she takes 8 books to be fully booked, which is actually a little bit below average. So, and she gets really, really good value from her books, 15% damage from books, and then she gets the cooldown reduction right away. She doesn't land any debuffs or anything like that. Other than the fear, actually, she does land the fear. Irresistible, so no accuracy is needed. You do need accuracy for her cooldown reduction if you don't meet the 3 buff divisible whatever condition. These are the masteries I have on her. I like the counterattack A1s. They're pretty strong for her, so I like that. Took a little bit of healing here with the Shadow Heal, just in case you're fighting some really tanky revivers. So keeping her around a little bit longer. Shield Breaker here, I think, is pretty standard. You're going to be using her A1 a lot, so Methodical gets quite a bit of a boost there. Opportunist, this just seems to apply quite often. Fears and stuns, obviously. Pretty common right now in Arena. But I think overall, pretty standard set of masteries there. All right, so let's take this build into a little bit of a damage test and see roughly where her multipliers is, whether it's actually workable. So yeah, let's jump into that. All right, so let's take her into Dragon here, and we'll see how well she does. We'll test all of her abilities out. We do have the plus attack here from Arbiter. So with plus attack, let's check this out with one-time speed. And we're starting with the 3 buffs on her. So let's try this out. She's going to get an extra turn right away. And I think this is the most controllable ability, right? Because you can control the amount of buffs that go on her. So she has 3 buffs right away. So we will expect the extra turn. One-time speed, single target, 132 with plus attack. So 132k, honestly, not super strong, I would say. Not really that great. No additional ignore defense or anything like that. Defense down and weaken is applied. We do get the extra turn. Now, if we use this is not her extra turn. It's not her third turn. So it's our second turn. So this means we have to try to get the A1, and if it lands, then we can use this. All right, let's try. So the A1 triple hit, we got 70% chance cumulative. We get an extra turn, 25. 44, 48, and we get the extra turn here. So I mean, her A1 hits for 100, 110-ish. That was with plus attack, by the way. Now, we have the third turn. This is divisible by 3. So she will be hitting for 99% ignore defense, and she will have the lockout. Let's see if we can one-shot this Venus from full health. Let's see if we can do it. No plus attack here from full health. Can we do it? 266. So, I mean, it gives you a little bit of a rough baseline of what she can do. Let's compare her to somebody else and see how well they perform. All right, guys, so I took the 6-piece Merciless gear right off of Maria and just put it right on Georgid. I removed one of Georgid's rings to bring his stats down a little bit. So 6.1k attack, 272 crit damage. So a little bit less crit damage, a little bit more attack. So I tried to make the stats as close to possible. I gave him basically a nothing blessing. No relics and mastery, Helm Smasher mastery here. So pretty much as close as possible. And we will run Georgid against this wave. See if we can get some numbers to compare. Mainly looking for multipliers, just doing like a relative comparison here. All right, let's try again. So plus attack, decrease defense, and weaken. Okay, let's test out this ability. So this ability, single target hit, right? The problem is this. If he gets a 50% chance, he will ignore 50% of the target's defense. So this will result in a really big hit. But let's see how well it does. Single target, 300k on the single target hit. So let's see if it actually was a result of his passive going off or not. If it was not, then that's just, straight up way stronger than Maria's. But if it is a result of his passive, then maybe we can talk about Maria's multipliers as being a little bit closer. Again, 315. Let's see if we can get on the other side of the coin flip, maybe. Try that again real quick. 330, so the damage is actually going up. All right, set up again. Okay, 150. So without the ignore 50% defense, he's only doing 150. I would say that's probably like, without Helm Smasher too. So probably with Helm Smasher, he's doing over 300. And that's, 75% ignore defense with his passive. But if he doesn't have any of that going off, he does about 150. So I would say Georgid probably has slightly higher multipliers than Maria, because Maria's hits, for example, Maria was hitting for about 280, 290. Against Venus, though, with 99% ignore defense. So Georgid hitting for, I would say, probably 75% ignore defense, was doing 330 on that single target hit. So I think Georgid actually hits harder than Maria in terms of relative multipliers. All right, and we set up the A1 here. Let's see what we can do with the A1. 65, 128. Now that's only on 2 hits. That's only on 2 hits, so that's pretty insane. Maria was hitting on her A1 about 110. So let's test that again, because Georgia obviously has a 50% chance of ignoring the big defense. Let's try again. And this one, he had the RNG where he went into the extra hit. So that's not going to be very accurate as well. Try again. Try A1 again. Okay, there we go. 197. So 200K on the A1. Try again. Down 44 and 42 and 43. Okay, so that is probably more accurate. So his A1 without his passive kicking in, only doing 40 something thousand per hit. And I think Maria with the triple hit was doing over 100K. So I would say Maria's total A1 multiplier is probably stronger than Georgid's double hit. But of course, Georgia has the RNG of the extra hits and the RNG of his passive as well, which will, make his damage go way up. But, as a baseline, Maria's A1 is just, stronger without getting super lucky for the RNG. So just a little bit of a comparison there just for the baseline in terms of relative multipliers. Let's take her into the arena and see what we can do there. All right, so let's try her out in this team here. I have her set up to run with enough buffs for the divisible by 3 condition on the A3. So let's check it out. We are running her in Stone Skin now, just get that 1 extra buff. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. So we have 9 buffs. That means the A3 will always grant the extra turn here. And we see the enemy does not have any divisible by 3 buffs, so that means the strip does go through an accuracy check. So let's see what we can do here. I think I will try to kill the Arbiter. Nope, 50K on the Arbiter. We do get the extra turn here. Let's go for the extra hit and try to go for the extra turn. Let's try to go after the Arbiter. Hit 20K, 25K. So pretty good. I mean, pretty good damage there. All right, so the Arbiter's down. Pretty good damage from the A1. We do get lucky with the extra turn, which means we can go into the A2, which is the 99% ignore defense, ignore Stone Skin. Can we kill this Empress? Empress is probably protected by the Freya. So I don't know. Let's see what happens here. 1 time speed and oh, that's big. Okay, then Empress was not protected. Freya is protecting the highest crit damage enemy, which is Maria. So interesting. That's a pretty big hit. I mean, obviously ignore 99% of defense. That's huge. So yeah, pretty big hit there. Let's keep going. Let's see what happens here. Let's see how his Maria will react. Okay, so let's go for let's try to kill Freya, I guess. Go for the A1. Multi-hitting. Protect her again. Okay, so she's going off with the extra hit. You guys see the low numbers here? Oh, the strip happened. So she went A1, A1, and then she went into the strip and then her big attack there. So that's pretty cool. So, okay, I'm going to revive. Let's test out her passive against the other Maria here. So I'm going to revive my Maria. And she's going to put fear on her, right? I believe. No, she only puts fear on her when she is revived. When she is dead. Sorry, when she is dead and then she comes back from a revive, then she'll put fear. Okay, so that makes sense. Let's see here. Go Terminator boost. Okay. See now, like you just don't know what turn it is anymore. Like you're just totally lost, right? So, anyways, so maybe we can just go for multi-hits. Freya's passive can't protect against multi-hits. Hit, hit, hit. You see the damage mitigation there. Her damage gets mitigated quite a lot, especially when it's 99% mitigation. That's quite huge. For the little sleepy. That's her thing, though. She can be CC'd, right? Look at this damage mitigation here. 16 damage. 16. 16 damage. It's pretty wild. She's actually kind of hard to kill. Like, if you have to hit her with multi-hits, she's actually kind of hard to kill. And then she just one-shot the CP there with 250k and then locked out her whole team. She's actually kind of hard to kill. It's interesting. Let's try again. Let's try again. Let's try again. All right, so we're back in it. Let's try again. Okay. Buff up. Plus attack. So we got 9 buffs. So we can use this for the extra turn. And yeah, last time we couldn't kill the Arbiter. Let's see how we do against somebody like Freya. We have to go through a shield. Arbiter has a 3-turn shield, so she's in a... What is this 3-turn shield? I don't understand. It's slipping my mind, but she has a singular 3-turn shield on herself, and then they have a magma shield on themselves as well. Okay, let's go after this Freya. Let's see how well we do. And 55k hit, which is pretty good. And then we did get a strip off on Empress, which is interesting. Okay, so can 33%. Can 33% kill this Empress? I'm pretty sure it could. Or we take the chance with A1. Let's take the chance with A1. Let's see what happens. A1. Oh, that's nice. And we get the extra turn. That's very nice. So now we ignore Stone Skin. Let's just kill this Empress. Flop. 220k hit. That's 99% ignore defense. And then we lock them out as well. So that's pretty nice. And let's go for the multi-hits here. Watch our damage mitigation. See that mitigation? 28. 28 against that shield. We got a little bit of that as well. She's getting the extra hits off. Kind of scary. Ooh, her A1 counterattack. That's deterrence, I think. But pretty cool. Pretty cool. She's surprisingly tanky. And again, we lost track of how many turns we're at. So, you know, I think we used this on the 3rd turn. Yes. So we're on the 4th turn. We're on the 4th turn. So you definitely don't want to use the A1 multi-hit against her. So you want to use the single target hit. So let's go after her here. And that did not do it. You know, that is the other thing when you're facing her, because you don't know what mitigation stack she is on. But it looked like she only took 1,000 damage from my big single target hit. So this is a big problem if you're fighting against Maria and you have no idea what stack it is and you have a big single target nuke. Because you know that her passive will protect her from multi-hits for the most part. So you think that a single target nuke would probably take her out, but then you don't know what mitigation stack she's on. If she's mitigating 66 or 99% of the incoming damage, your single target hit is basically not going to do anything. You can kind of see exactly what happened there with my Maria. I used my big single target hit against her, and she totally stopped it. So the fact that, you know, she doesn't have a counter or indicator or anything like that, it's actually, you know, a really strong defensive feature that I'm not sure that Plarium intended, but let's see what happens here. See? You guys see what happened there? She went with the full multi-hit. You even go with the multi-hits, and she did not take enough damage to die. It's actually very interesting. It's very interesting. Does this mean that building her with perhaps some healing, maybe even like a golden elixir, could be huge for her? So this is actually really interesting. And of course, the multi-hits from Necro is not going to do anything. All right, let's try again. So yeah, she stripped our stuff, but she has no buff, so she doesn't get an extra turn. So let's try RA1 here against the Arbiter. Okay, Arbiter is pretty tanky, I guess. Only did about 30k. Can we kill her? Okay, we killed her this time. And then the single hit from Sifi took her out. Very interesting. I think that was a very informative, enlightening battle there, going against a defensive Maria and just really showcasing what her entire kit can do. All right, let's go after. Let's fight her magic counterpart. Honestly, Maria gives me a little bit of a Rhodos feel, especially with the way that her passive protects her. But I think Rhodos is a little bit more consistent because you just kind of know what to expect, whereas Maria, you don't really know what to expect because you don't have an idea what indicator or counter she's at. Okay, so we got 9 buffs, so we can get an extra turn here. Let's see what we can do here against. I mean, we'll try to target Sifi. Sifi, nope, 56k. So her, yeah, even with plus attack, her A3 doesn't hit super hard. Does not hit super hard. Can we kill Sifi with the A1? And we do. We hit her for about 60, just under 60. We don't get the extra turn, unfortunately. Oh no, all our buffs. Let's A1 into Rhodos, see if we can kill him. Not quite. Not quite. Rhodos being super annoying himself. All right, dead. So this is the third. Is this the third turn? Hold on. See, now this gets kind of messed up. It's like, did we use this? We're locked out. Okay, so we were locked out. So this is the third turn. Third turn. Pretty good hits. Fourth turn. Dead. Okay. I mean, the extra hit mechanic, obviously you can dish out quite a bit of damage. 70% chance of, going, for more than one turn with the A1. And the A1 seems to do decent. Not fully like neutered or anything like that. Now let's see how well she does against somebody like this with the Harima passive out there. Let's see how well she does. Okay, 9 turns here. Or sorry, 9 buffs here. Go for the extra attack. Let's go right into the Armans. And well, 66k got the job done. We do get a strip off. So, I mean, we have a little bit of accuracy, just a little bit. Let's go for the A1. Let's try to kill the Yumiko. And not quite. So about 40k there. But we do get the extra turn. And now we can do the big slam here. So can we kill the Duchess? Now, this is the affinity issue part because we are force affinity. We will weak hit against, Spirit once in a while. Can we do it? Also have to go through Harima's passive. So 99%, 50% effective. Basically, we only got 50% ignore defense. If we don't weak hit, I think we got it. So let's try. And 50k. We didn't weak hit, but we didn't kill her. We only did 50k. So definitely not enough damage there with the Harima passive being active. So a little bit disappointing there, but would be expecting quite a bit for her to go through everything. So we do have 3 buffs up, so it does give us an extra turn. Can we remove the buffs? This could be interesting. And we did attack and kill the champion under 66%. So that was kind of nice to see. And we get an extra turn because we have the turn divisible by 3 with the buffs. Was that it? No, we used this one, A3. We had the buffs divisible by 3. And then we killed Yumiko because she was under 66%. Okay, now we're back to the A1. Let's see if we can chain off some extra turns. We do. All right, now I have no idea where we're at with the buffs or with the turns. No idea anymore. See, like now it's lost. This is a full-time job just keeping up with it. I don't think we're at turn 6 already. 4, 5. I feel like maybe we're at turn 6. We're probably close. All right, let's try. And okay, we got it. We somehow were on turn 6. We were at turn 6. So it worked out. We got a 50k hit there, which was about what she hit with 99% ignore defense. Oh, yes. And plop. There we go. Unfortunately, like I said, it's it's quite a bit to keep up with. Let's see how well she does, kind of full auto. Let's see how well she does full auto. All right, let's see how well she does full auto. What does she do full auto? Full auto. So we go buff, buff, and she goes into the A3, and then she goes right into the A2. So the A2 on her turn 2 only gives 33% ignore defense. It's enough to kill the Arbiter, of course. Hell swap. Big hit. 110 damage there from the mitigation. 87 damage there. Her extra turns on defense, I can see being very annoying. I can see being very, very annoying. I can see this. I can see this being very annoying. Because it's not possible for you to keep track of her counter on defense as well as your offensive counter. It just doesn't make sense. Let's see this again in full auto. It's too complicated for this game. It's too complicated for this game, I think. And because of the complexity, it makes her a pretty good champion. It makes her a pretty good champion. The complexity makes her a pretty good champion, both on offense and on defense. As a defensive unit, she can be, absolutely game changing because her 99% damage mitigation can really mess up somebody. So we're not going to make it in this fight here. She can still be controlled, right? She can be controlled, like CC'd, and then of course she can be locked out and all that stuff. But the good thing about her is that her A1 is actually really, really good. Now, like I said, I did switch up her Merciless build into a Stone Skin build here just for the extra buff. So like I said, her A3 can be manipulated where you know exactly how many buffs she has. So we added Stone Skin to her kit. I think Stone Skin on her makes sense because she can still die on the first hit, right? Like if you lose a speed race and they hit you with one hit, then she's probably dead. Is she a counter for like Marius? Marius probably will kill her in 2 hits if she doesn't have Stone Skin, because she's not mitigating 66 and 99% damage until the 3rd and 4th hit. So Marius landing 3 hits on her probably kills her. Her health pool is pretty low, 40k HP here. This is my lethal Stone Skin. Not much accuracy, and she was still, locking out some people, still stripping people like Yumiko and stuff. So not too bad there. No relic, no blessing. So her build can definitely be elevated. You can definitely boost up her stats quite a bit, especially with the big blessing, big relic, and all that. I think it's a pretty big commitment. It's a pretty big commitment to kind of bring her up as a go-to damage dealer. You're gonna have to commit the big blessings to her and all that. I think she's really good. I think her multipliers are definitely workable, and the fact that she gets extra turns relatively consistently means that she's just gonna be pumping out more damage. Her mitigation part of her passive is actually really, really cool as well. And I think this is going to give a lot of people fighting against her in arena defense a bit of problem as well, because you just don't know what she is at in terms of how many hits she has absorbed. Now, we didn't see her get revived and come back, but I was playtesting her earlier, and when she was revived, the True Fear is great, but it does open her up to getting sheeped or getting wanded. And since she has no way of kicking out of, crowd control and stuff like that, being feared would be a pretty big negative for her. The other weakness I see with Maria here is that even though one of her big selling points is the ignore Stone Skin, ignore block damage, this only occurs on her 3-turn condition. So if you need her to be your Stone Skin remover, or killer, right? You need her to go into this, even if you have the buff conditions on her, you need her to go into this, into an extra turn, into the A1 extra turn. And it's only a 70% chance of getting extra turn on an A1. So you only have a 70% chance of going into this A2 with the Stone Skin block damage condition active. So she's not even going to be like a stone skin, champion destroyer like He-Man or Georgid, for example. Or at least not as reliable as them, because she does have this condition. And if you want to open with her, she does have a 70% chance of getting the extra turn to land into this condition. So it's a weird spot for her. She's in a really good faction, Undead Hordes, so you don't necessarily need her for faction wars or anything like that. She does remind me a little bit of Rhodos, especially with the way she can kind of survive, especially with this mitigation. It's very, very, very cool. And of course, her A1 with the extra turns definitely reminds you a little bit about Rhodos. And Rhodos is all single target as well, similar to how she is single target. It would have been nice if she just had like flat damage boost on disability or maybe some ignore defense, so it hits a little bit harder. Because if you're opening with this, she doesn't benefit from her bonus damage here because it's going to be a 0 damage boost. So she's not getting any benefit from this, and you really need this ability to kind of do something on her first hit, right? And since this ability most likely won't kill too many champions, you're basically banking on her getting A1 extra turns or her A1 killing off the champion. And yeah, banking on this to finish off like a key champion as well. I'm not too sure. I think her multipliers, like I said, serviceable. Her kit is very interesting. In some cases, very effective. Now, keep in mind, I'm playing against some, stronger defenses than my offense. And she doesn't have a blessing and she doesn't have a relic. So it definitely can be stronger. She can hit harder. But I think she did pretty okay considering she has no blessing and no relic. But I think her kit is a little bit complex for this game. I think complex for most people. On auto, it's not, you're not getting the full benefit from her kit if you just put it on an auto, for example. So she's pretty much a full manual champion. Would she be good against somebody like Siegfried against Nice, for example? Maybe. She does have the ignore block damage. She does, place fears if she dies and gets revived. And both Nice and Siegfried do have revives and block damage in their kits. And they're both kind of a little bit more weak to like multi-hits, I think, especially Nice. But I don't know. I don't know if you would take her as a counter. It'll be interesting to see if somebody else has figured out a better way to use her. And she also suffers from affinity, right? She also suffers from affinity. Like against that Duchess, we had to worry about, weak hitting, especially with her big hits. So there's always that concern as well if you need her as a dedicated nuker. She is force affinity, so she will be weak against spirit affinity. Anyways, guys, that's going to be the showcase here for Sanguine Maria. Hopefully it was interesting for you guys. Now, there probably is some PvE use cases for her, like, for example, Fire Knight, extra turns, multi-hits, and all that stuff. But honestly, her big draw will be in the arena. And she kind of reminds me of a champion like Little Miss Annie and all that stuff. Multi-hits, single target hits, hits hard, ignore defense, and all that. But I don't know. Not too sold on her just yet as a slam dunk must-do kind of fusion. I think for early accounts, I think she's probably a pass. It's hard to make her work. You need pretty good gear. You need a pretty good team around her as well. But I think for end game accounts or late game accounts that have the flexibility to afford a champion like this, she could be interesting. And I think like super end game accounts obviously probably won't get too much use out of her since they might have better options. Anyways, guys, that's going to be it for the video. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think about Maria. Do you guys have any cool ideas on how to use her? What do you guys think about her overall damage? Will you guys be going for the fusion? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks a lot for watching until the end. Appreciate you guys. Have a great day. And I'll see you guys in the next video.